Welcome back. Biden's DOJ and the Democrats appear to be trying to take out Biden's #1 competitor in the upcoming 2024 election. This week, the Arizona Attorney General confirmed that it is, in fact, investigating the use of alternative electors after the 2020 election, raising questions as to whether Arizona is about to jump on the indict Trump bandwagon and announce a 5th indictment against the 45th president after Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis proposed the election interference charges. Trial began on March 4th. March 4th, that would be one day before Super Tuesday, when many delegates are at stake in the Republican presidential primary. Trump's 4th indictment comes just days after Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed U.S. Attorney David Weiss as special counsel in the Hunter Biden investigation. A continuing pattern of when bad news breaks on Biden family corruption, it's almost immediately followed the next day by more legal issues for Donald Trump. In a pair of new Fox News polls, a majority of registered voters say that the Justice Department's treatment of former President Trump is motivated by partisan politics, while 38% of registered voters believe President Biden did something illegal when it comes to his son's business deals. Another 25% say they believe the president did something unethical. Joining me now with more are Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and former White House senior advisor Stephen Miller. Great to have you both with us. Stephen, let me kick things off with you. Assess the state of affairs for us.
Well, we've entered a dark new era in American history in which the prosecutor's office has been weaponized and been transformed into an instrument of political repression. And anybody thinking this stops here, anybody thinking that, well, this will be it, and then the Democrats will move on, the radical left will move on, is living in a delusion. They are living in an absolute fantasy. If you can get away with having a local prosecutor or Maine justice take over a presidential election, throw innocent people in jail for decades potentially, you can prosecute and incarcerate Republican attorneys for the crime, the thought crime of providing legal counsel with which the prosecutor disagrees. There's no limiting principle here. It will be open legal season on Republicans. And the only way this ends, and I hate to say it, but it's true, is if Republicans return lawfare in kind. That is the only way you could ever create the political conditions for a ceasefire. Otherwise, one side gets pulverized, and it keeps getting pulverized.
And you think that the House Republicans should start making criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Is that right?
Yes, I think you have to take a hard look at both the Russia hoax conspiracy, well, all of these things, the Russia hoax conspiracy, the open borders criminal and cartel conspiracy, the suppression of First Amendment speech conspiracy, the deprivation of civil rights by the Biden administration and local prosecutors, and on down through the list, and of course Joe Biden and the RICO conspiracy involving him and his children. And you take all of that and you begin crafting criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, which can then be taken up in 2025 under an honest DOJ.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's incredible to me that President Trump is still the outsized winner in terms of the GOP primary, so much further ahead than anyone else. And yet you told us 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when you joined me here that Georgia was about to indict him. That's exactly how it played out. That is a 4th indictment. And now we're wondering if Arizona is next. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm sure Arizona is next. And just as Stephen Miller laid out, this is a conspiracy, a grand conspiracy by the Democrat Party to use the justice system at the federal level, but also in the states, using these state DAs, like in Georgia, Fani Willis. They'll use Arizona's, they're using New York's, and they're using this giant collaboration basically to affect the 2024 election. But Maria, let me tell you something. Americans are not going to have it. This election is not going to be swayed by indictments against President Trump that are really pure communism in America today. This election is going to be swayed with gas prices, food prices, inflation, and security. Americans want $1.75 gas back like we had in Georgia in November of 2020. Single moms can't afford cereal and bread to make their kids sandwiches as they go back to school because of inflation and food prices. Americans want secure city streets. Americans want a secure border, and Americans don't want to be dragged off into another decades-long foreign war defending another border that's not our own. Americans see through this exactly for what it is. This is an attempt to steal the 2024 election from Donald Trump by trying to put him in jail, and they are overwhelmingly going to elect him in the Republican primary and I'll argue that he will win the general election.
Well, I mean, these are serious charges, like in Georgia. I mean, do you think he will be able to be heard in a fair trial before the election, or is there a chance he could go to jail?
Well, I don't think he's going to get a fair trial at all. As a matter of fact, I don't think these charges are fair. What Fani Willis is trying to do is exactly what she's guilty of. She's charging him with RICO, racketeering, and conspiracy. In Fulton County, which is a largely Democrat county, he's not going to get a fair trial, and none of this is fair. But that's what Americans see. You see, Americans aren't stupid. And the typical lies in the media and the headlines, like we've seen for years now, are just not sticking anymore. Americans are going to vote with their wallet, and they remember President Trump's 4 years. They remember how great our economy was, and they remember $1.75 gas. I can't say that loudly enough. $1.75 gas, while we hover around $4 a gallon under Joe Biden.
Well, you made the point to me when we spoke a couple of weeks ago. You used to have a construction company before you entered Congress, and just when you're looking at the refrigerant used in our air conditioners, that's just coolant that we need. It's so hot out, we need the coolant for the air conditioners. That 20 pounds of that refrigerant cost $45 back in 2020. What does it cost today?
It is now around $250 today, Maria. And thank you for bringing that up. And I still do own my construction company, although I don't work at it anymore. Building prices are out of control. And the FDA and the government, the EPA, has now changed regulations on that same type of refrigerant, making refrigerant cost so much more to meet the Green New Deal regulations that the Biden administration is forcing on the American people. It also makes electricity bills unaffordable, and it makes your air conditioner push those electricity bills much higher. And that hurts regular working Americans, single moms, and seniors on a fixed income very much.
It's a great point. I'm glad to raise it. Stephen, I want to talk about the legal issues around both of these cases. You run America First Legal. When you look at all of these 4 indictments for Trump and the trials that will come, is there enough time in the upcoming year to have all of these trials where Trump's lawyers will be able to get access to the information that they need, as in a typical discovery that always happens with a trial? And then what about what's going on around Joe Biden? I mean, you just heard from James Comer with all of this evidence, and yet you don't hear a peep about it on the mainstream media.
No, well, to take your first question, clearly the strategy from all of the left-wing prosecutors going after Donald Trump is to try to collapse all of these cases into a time frame around the election to take Donald Trump off the campaign trail, but at the same time to make it impossible for him to mount an effective defense because he's in so many courtrooms in close succession during a campaign with insufficient time to perform discovery, to get documents, to review those documents, to interview witnesses, and to put on, again, a full defense. So that's clearly all part of the effort to deny him his rights under the Constitution of the United States. Then you flip over to Joe Biden, in which the sweetheart deal with Hunter that recently fell apart was clearly crafted by the Department of Justice for the purpose of shielding Joe Biden from criminal culpability. In other words, the reason why they cut off all investigative avenues and tried to immunize Hunter with relation to his foreign business dealings with his father, so both all avenues to his father and then not prosecuting Hunter for the same, is because it would mean criminal liability for Joe Biden. If the Department of Justice actually wanted to get to the bottom of this vast criminal conspiracy involving Joe Biden, they would say to Hunter, your only way out of these charges is to provide full, complete, and an unredacted testimony about your father, Joe Biden, and his role as, quote, the big guy. But they're doing the opposite of that. So, again, it's going to be incumbent upon the House to send criminal referrals to the Department of Justice on all of these matters involving all the individuals who are involved and who are complicit, so that the future Department of Justice can pick these issues up and at the same time, where appropriate, also send referrals, as the House can do, to local prosecutors where they have jurisdiction as well. And to make clear that we are not going to have a justice system in this country where the political left is immunized for any crime, while the political right is framed and incarcerated for crimes they did not commit. That is untenable. It will be the beginning of the end of American democracy if that state of affairs persists.
Well, is the RNC doing enough? You just heard my conversation with Ronna McDaniel. The Michigan Freedom Caucus is defending these Trump electors. They're facing decades in prison for opposing the voter fraud.
It's horrifying, bone-chilling to watch how good and decent Americans are facing decades in prison away from their loved ones, their children, their parents, their family, just because they had a different view of the election, just because they had a different view about election integrity, because they wanted to have a more secure counting of the vote. Is that really where we are in this country? And I would say that I would just hope that at every level of the Republican Party, now my organization is nonpartisan, but I would hope, as someone who cares about the First Amendment, that at every level of the Republican Party, money is being raised to support the legal defenses of those who are being wrongly persecuted, because that is the only way there's even a chance of their legal rights being ultimately vindicated here as these things go up and down the full appellate process, because there's very likely to be no justice at the first phase of the trial. So these things could go on for years and cost millions of dollars per defendant. And so I hope that is what is going to take place ultimately.
All right. What a state of affairs. Thank you both for being here. Georgia Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene, former White House senior advisor Stephen Miller.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.